Supreme Court's new term begins on Monday. And once again, the question of how far Donald Trump can push presidential power is on the docket. On November 5th, the High Court will consider the legality of Trump's sweeping tariffs after a lower court ruled he overstepped his authority in imposing most of them. Then, in January, the justices will hear arguments concerning Trump's attempt to fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. Meanwhile, we are now on day 4 of a government shutdown, and former FBI Director James Comey is set to be arraigned on Thursday. There's a whole lot to discuss. Joining us now to talk about all of that is Senator Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota. She's a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, which will hear testimony from Attorney General Pam Bondi next week. Senator Klobuchar, thanks for joining us this morning.
Jackie.
Out of that smorgasbord of issues that we just threw at everyone, I want to get to the shutdown first. Obviously, we just had your colleague, Senator Mark Kelly, on, who told us that basically, more or less, he feels that his Democratic colleagues are pretty prepared to stand for the health care for Americans, to extend these subsidies and not back down from a deal until that is done. When you're taking stock of where your colleagues are, how long do you think that you and them are willing to do this for?
We are united as a party, and it's not just the Senate and the House, it's also governors and attorney generals in saying the Republicans have created this health care crisis. They did it with the big, beautiful betrayal of a bill. They did it with the Medicare cuts, Medicaid cuts, but they really significantly did it by allowing these tax credits to go away that help people afford their health care. So they decided we're going to give a bunch of tax cuts to the rich instead of helping people afford their health care. And what we want to see is them to come to the table and work with us. Behind closed doors and even publicly, some of the Republican senators are saying, you know, we're open to this. But now Donald Trump, once again, has treated this all as a joke.
What does open to this look like exactly?
Open to extending these tax credits.
How long?
Which, well, I'm not going to negotiate with you as great as you are. But that's something we'd negotiate, but they're not even seriously talking to us. And I think what they're shocked by, big surprise, the American people who are already hit by these tariffs, grocery prices up, electricity prices up, and now their health care premium notices are coming in. Yeah. They're seeing these huge increases. And a recent Kaiser family poll just yesterday showed that 57% of the Republicans, because so many of this, the Affordable Care Act is used in rural areas, are saying, no, we need these tax credits.
A lot of them don't know that they're on Obamacare because, like, smartly, the Republicans, they know the name.
Right, and it's not because they're not knowledgeable. Right. It's because they have different names. In Minnesota, it's called MNsure. But they have figured out that these health care premiums are rising. They're standing on a cliff, and Donald Trump is sending out joke videos saying he's the Grim Reaper along with Russ Vought, which makes it even worse. They realize these guys are serious. They're literally going to cut our health care.
Yeah. I want to get to the Supreme Court. You're on judiciary, so you pay a lot of attention to them. A lot of the issues before them, tariffs, gun control, the firing of Fed Governor Lisa Cook, gay conversion therapy, transgender sports participation. President Trump has asked them to take up birthright citizenship. They haven't made a decision there. There used to be a time where the Supreme Court took one thing that would shake the American populace. But we have seen over and over them taking up so much of, especially the things in the social issues that would shake the American populace. When you look at what the list I just read, how are you feeling about the kinds of things that you're going to hear next July and June when they start giving out rulings?
Well, when you look at some of the past decisions that are so concerning on the Voting Rights Act, I don't have to list all of them. Yeah. I think anyone that looks at them says, are they going to make these decisions based on the law or where the president is? Now, there's a few of them. I'm not going to pick out all of them, but like the tariff case. Yeah. That one is so interesting because a lower trade court made up of an Obama judge, a Trump judge, and a Reagan judge, yes, they still exist, unanimously said that the president couldn't put the tariffs out there based on the statute, which we call IEPA. Then it goes up to the D.C. Circuit, 7-4, they say basically affirm that. And so now it's going to the Supreme Court, and they've got to decide on the statute. They also could go to a second question on the constitutionality. You know, there's a good chance they're going to throw out those tariffs because if you just look at the law and you look at the powers of Congress, it makes no sense. And maybe that's saving Donald Trump from himself because of all these escalated prices that we've seen. And they've done this before on things that people were surprised by, like Roberts wrote the decision upholding the Affordable Care Act.
Right.
So these things could happen based on the law, and that's what we kind of have to. I think people assume they're going to go with Trump on every single case. That hasn't always been the case.
Yeah. Senator, you're due to have a chat with Attorney General Pam Bondi.
Yes, over some coffee.
Yes, some General Foods International Coffee, just showing my age again. This is going to happen on Tuesday. Two questions. One, should we just start calling her Trump's personal attorney instead of the Attorney General? And two, in all seriousness, what do you hope to learn from her? What's the point of this meeting on Tuesday?
Well, I'm going to follow up on the questions that I asked her in her nomination hearing. And I asked her then specifically, who is your client? Is it the American people or is it the president? And she literally said that the Justice Department should be independent of politics. A quote. So there are so many things to then dive into based on that decision. And one of the primary things for me, of course, is the prosecution of my law school classmate, spoiler alert, Jim Comey, and what the reasons given for that, the fact that they literally, the reports out there is that she and Todd Blanche were trying to keep the career prosecutor in place, but that Trump was pressuring them and on social media literally ordered them to do this vengeance prosecution, even though the career guy didn't want to do it. So they push out the career guy, they replace it with a White House aide, place him with the White House aide, and then they bring this grand jury case, which allegedly there's a lot of rumors out there about what happened with that case. So I just think it's a huge problem for them when they're supposed to be an independent Justice Department, starting with the Eric Adams case. There's just a through line where they throw that out, going forward to the pardoning of the January 6th insurrectionists, where they have done the president's bidding and not followed their oath.
Did you believe her when she said they were going to be independent?
Not quite, no. I didn't. But you're in a nomination hearing.
Yes,
Obviously, I didn't support her. But you want to ask a series of questions.
That are on the record.
Why? Well,
Right.
the hopes is that actually, because someone says something on the record, they actually then might do that.
Right.
And it's not all negative, like go beat them up later. It's also maybe they will then commit to keeping domestic abuse, a hope for people out there. Maybe they will commit. It's not all just politics. It's actually a hope that they're going to do what they say they will do under oath.
What the job is.
But Senator, can we ask you, for just full circle, how long should we be prepared for a shutdown for?
That is hard to tell. That is up to the Republicans. They are going to have to decide, first of all, in Congress, are they going to rubber stamp him like they did on RFK Jr. and the tariffs and debt, even though they didn't agree with any of it? Or are they going to want to come meet with us? But most significantly, Donald Trump has to decide that, because otherwise they're not going to do anything, that he doesn't want to keep us in this health care cause crisis and in this Republican shutdown.
Speaking of Donald Trump, where are you at in all this?
Senator Amy Klobuchar. Get me in trouble.